I love what our tagline there is, legal tampering, which is exactly what it is, right? They started this, and all of a sudden all these guys are not signing, but they're kind of lining up and they're getting everything together. Who's the winners? Who's the losers? And I'll start it off. So for my money, the winner right now are the Texans. And the reason I say that is this, John. They've done an absolutely amazing job of holding on to the guys that they really needed to and wanted to hold on to and build this team, and gone out and gotten a couple of players. Here's what they've done. They've just got the running back, Joe Mixon. Now, he's a heck of a running back, has been a very good running back for a while now in the NFL. He's not old, but he's been in the NFL for a while. He's experienced. I think he's a good player who's probably got 2 to 3 years left on his legs. But they also signed 4 cornerbacks. 3 of them were already on the team, but then they added another one. They added a linebacker. They added a safety. But here was the biggie. They ended up going out and getting Danielle Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings. They give him a 2-year deal for $49 million. I'll tell you, that guy's worth every penny of it. Last year, he made $17 million. The only reason he got that high of a number was because of all the incentives per sack when he hit a certain level. He hit it and crushed it. And I think because that defense is already ready to roll, this is a guy who could really do well, because if you've got Anderson from Alabama, the rookie defensive player of the year, on one side, and you've got Danielle Hunter on the other, I think you're going to get to the quarterback every once in a while pretty well. So that's why I like that one. The one team that I'm just mystified at, John, because they need everything. They literally need everything, is the New York Jets. You know what they've done? Nothing. I think they may have signed 3 or 4 of existing players type of thing, but when you look across the league and you see what the Vikings have done, or the Bears have done, or Green Bay, or the Vegas, or Seattle, they've all done some pretty big trades already. And you look at the Jets, and they've got maybe 3 or 4 transactions. And I realize we're not really there yet, but we are kind of there, because these guys are all going to sign where they're committed to, and they've already got it all worked out. It's just a matter of getting that clock to 4 o'clock today Eastern. What do you think? Who's crushed it? Who's not?
No doubt Houston has, Pete, because like you say, they're getting a 29-year-old defender that had career numbers last year. Mm-hmm. He had 83 tackles. He had that's tackles for a loss. He had tackles for a loss 23. 23. I mean, you and I have talked about guys that are going to get good free agent money that have like 8. This guy's double digits, and high double digits. Sacks 16.5, and you basically merge that in with what they already had, Pete, and then the signing of, I think his name is Danico Autry, Pete. Mm-hmm. This kid is a beast as well. They probably have one of the scariest pass rushes in all of football now, immediately, right now, and I don't think anybody can prove me wrong, especially, Pete, with San Francisco releasing the big guy in the middle. Yeah. You've still got edge rushers, but now you don't have Armstead, that monster in the middle, because they don't want to pay him, or they can't afford to pay him.
Probably. Yeah. I think they'd love to keep him, but they probably can't afford it. I think you're right about that. They've done a few interesting things, San Francisco. They've been active, but I agree with you. Losing that center is that's pretty rough, because if you're in the middle of that and you've got this guy who's going, what is he about? I think Armstead's about 6'7" or 8. I stood next to him. He's a monster, by the way. So, and weighs about 285, but he's shredded. That's a guy that I think you'd want on your team, and you'd want him in the middle. But if you can't afford him, you can't afford him. Is there anybody out there you can think of, or do you like the Jets call on my part as far as doing nothing? I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And it must just be a combination of cheap and confused, because it's like, where do we start? They need so much. I mean, should they have gotten Derrick Henry, Pete? Did they need that running back, or did the Giants need him after they lose Saquon Barkley? One of those two things seemingly. I mean, I'm happy for Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh, getting Derrick Henry, but man, this one I don't really understand how the Jets couldn't be out there, or the Giants at least taking a good hard look at Henry, who's not an old guy yet. Yeah, he's one of those running backs that's, right there at 30, but I think he could be productive for 2 or 3 more years, Pete. and he keeps himself in phenomenal shape. So again, why didn't the Jets look at that? Why didn't they look at Danielle Hunter? I mean, I don't know.
And these numbers, Danielle's numbers are pretty big, I'll admit that. But some of the numbers, especially with all these running backs switching, from one team to the other, and there's been many, the numbers aren't that huge for running backs. We all know that. But it's funny to me that how aggressive people became going after running backs and that being a target. And we've seen that for sure. Baltimore needed somebody. And boy, I'll tell you what, I would never have thought that they'd get the opportunity to have Henry, but that guy will make that offense even scarier, I think, this coming year, John, based upon what the quarterback can and will do. But all of a sudden you still now can put the ball in the hands of a guy who's going to get you 5 to 6 yards. I think that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson has to be a happy camper, not because he's not going to throw as much, but because he's got a real threat on the ground that opens up the throwing, a very, very serious threat. Because again, if you don't account for that big man beat, like you say, it's 5 or 6 yards at a clip, and he's got breakaway speed as well, which we've all seen.